This week, we're all at sea. Or are we?
Is it a plane or is it a boat?
It's a hovercraft. And if you want to get all technical about it, it's a Pindair Skima 12.
Born in the psychedelic 70s, the Skima 12 hovercraft was big enough to host a party and would scoot along at nearly 50 miles an hour.
Built in 1975, the Skima 12 was a child of free-spirited times. Giant hovercraft have come and gone, but it's this revolutionary machine which has become the model on which all modern hovercraft are based.
But for all that the Skima 12 is the daddy of modern hovercraft, its cushion got deflated long ago, and it's been grounded in this Hampshire barn gathering dust and pigeon droppings. But not for long, because Claire and I have turned up with her original designer and namesake, Mike Pinder, in a bid to get her flying again.
Whoa, so there she blows. The hovercraft that you built with your own fair hands, Mike.
Well, a team of us. I didn't do it all myself.
It's looking in a bit of a way now, eh?
It's,
Yeah.
it's one hell of a state, isn't
Yes.
it?
30 years on, we all age a bit, don't we?
What do you reckon, Claire?
My gut reaction is unspeakable, so I'll just go and have a proper look at it.
So, Mike, where did this interest in hovercraft come from?
Well, I was in the oil industry. I would have been about 19 or 20. I was on the jetty and I saw this strange device going past, looking a bit like a cup and saucer, a flying cup and saucer, if you like, in a big cloud of steam, and that was the SRN-1, the first hovercraft.
Do you remember what you were thinking when you saw the first hovercraft?
What the hell's that?
It was 1959, and Mike had seen a vision of the future, the first new form of transport since the aeroplane. Christopher Cockerell's brand new invention, the SRN-1, was a completely amphibious machine, and a British one at that. It was the birth of the hovercraft. In the white heat of technology that was the 60s, people thought this was going to be the transport of the future, and Mike was one of them.
I built my first hovercraft in a spare bedroom. Gradually developed it so I could see that there was a market for it. So I started up my own company and eventually built about 200 of them, all sizes up to about 12 seats, which is the Skima 12.
Soon Mike was out of his bedroom workshop and was top man in the company that bears his name. Here he is, demonstrating just how pedestrian-friendly his hovercraft were. Unfortunately, the company went bust in 1982, but the Skima was its proudest achievement and attracted buyers from far and wide.
So, Mike, you built this hovercraft nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And where's it been in those 30 years?
It's been all over the world, actually. Originally, it was built for the Sultan of Oman.
But this royal Skimmer fell from grace, and 15 years later, it ended up sunk in a London canal, from where Mike rescued it from oblivion.
It was in a bit of a sorry old way at that point.
It was very, very sad. All the windows were smashed in, it had been vandalised. It was full of water, wooden bits were all going rotten, the metal bits were all going rusty. So it was a sad sight, but I felt that it was an important part of the history of hovercraft and it ought to be saved.
How's it looking, Claire?
Well, it's not good, is it? It's in its most dangerous state for a restoration project because someone's taken it apart and we don't know where all the stuff is.
Do you think it's all here, Mike?
I think it's all lying around here somewhere.
Here, there, and indeed everywhere.
Yeah.
So the deal, should you wish to accept it, Mike, would be we'll do our damnedest to restore the craft back to its former glory, but you won't be able to see it until it's done. How does that feel?
That's okay, so long as it's restored to its former glory and perhaps I'll be allowed to drive it.
Of course you will. Let's call it a deal.
Right.
But we're not going to repair her here in this drafty barn. Let's move it out.
Although she's only 30 years old, this is the last Skima 12 in the world. So as usual, we've brought in the very best in the business to move her. Or perhaps we haven't. Looks like that's another job on the list.
Well, I'm off. It was nothing to do with me, Gov. I'm leaving Claire to pick up the pieces while I go and find out some hover history.
And they've shed loads of history here at the UK's only hovercraft museum. I've come to see Warwick Jacobs, the curator of this collection. He's got all kinds of hovering hybrids, but he's lacking one vital ingredient.
Yeah, this is a great little craft, little two-seater hoverhawk, 1968, took 2 people, but that was its problem, only took 2 people. And what we need is something a bit bigger that can carry people, do displays, lots of spray, noise and action, and really capture people's imagination. Nothing static like this, something really going, and that's where the Skima 12 could be absolutely fantastic.
Where better for the Skima 12 to end up? The only working hovercraft amongst the skeletons of her sisters. Mike has kindly agreed to donate her to the museum, but only if we can get her working again.
Well, if our Skimmer is ever going to hover again, we'll need the help of a real propeller head. John Gifford is Britain's foremost hovercraft expert. He's been building and driving hovercraft for over 30 years. Here he is, a lot younger, honing his driving skills at Mike's company, Pindair. He became so proficient that he's now the stunt hovercraft driver on James Bond films. But his 007 cool is both shaken and stirred by the sight of the wreck we've delivered to his yard. Right, John, what do you think?
There's a lot to do.
I'm sorry to land it on you, but you were the best man for the job. If we're going to get this hovering heap of hardware off the ground, Captain Suggs will have to assume command.
What? Me, Suggs, alone in charge of a giant hovercraft?
I'll be getting into a rubber skirt, and we'll be battling the breeze. So hang on, we're in for a rough ride.